Hello, and welcome to CEO Insights, the program that interviews CEOs and other senior managers here in Vietnam. I'm your host today, and my name is Leon Shears. I'm very pleased to say that today we have with us Tom Vovers, who is the founder and general director of HR2B, one of the leading HR consultancies here in Vietnam. Welcome, Tom.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks, Leon. Thanks for inviting me.
Great pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time out of your diary. I'm going to start with the inevitable question, which I always start with.
Yes.
And that is, why Vietnam?
Well, let's see. It was a long time ago that I chose to come here. So it's a decision that was made many years. I've been in Southeast Asia for over 20 years, and I've worked in various countries around the region, and I've lived in Thailand, and I've lived in Singapore. And the simple answer is the people. I chose Vietnam because of the people. In particular, I like the activity level. Vietnamese are very active. There's intelligence. The people are quite literate. It's a good place to build up a professional services organisation.
Right, and why HR?
HR, I've always been in the HR profession. That's where I started my career, and worked my way up to be regional HR director, looking after a group of countries.
Right, okay.
So that was about 10 or 15 years in the corporate HR world. But then I could see, well, actually, I was getting older, and I thought, well, I better do my own thing before I lose the energy and the impetus to keep going. And then looking at Vietnam and thinking, what is it that I could contribute? And it was really saying, well, that's the area that I would probably most be able to contribute.
And has it been a personally satisfying journey so far?
Absolutely. If it wasn't personally satisfying, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So no, I don't hang around for things.
So you enjoy working with Vietnamese people?
Absolutely. And it's working with Vietnamese people and working in the economy here. Okay, it doesn't go as fast as we all want it to grow up, but it's not going backwards. It's always trending upwards. And actually, if we stop and have a look about 5 years ago and where we are now, it's pretty amazing what's happened with the economy.
And when did you start HR2B?
Right, so we're starting in 2003.
Right, okay, so it's 12 years in.
Right. Yeah.
And yourself and?
So when we started, I just started by myself with an HR consultancy, which we did for about a year or so. Going around the consulting business enabled me to see the market and to listen what were customers looking for. And at that time it was about talented Vietnamese managers and professionals, and they were trying to reduce the cost for expats. So our initial business was with executive search for Vietnamese people, and we had an expat services company. I wasn't that skilled with the expat services, so I brought in a partner who was an overseas Vietnamese man who was involved in that. We ran business together till about 2008, and then we chopped off the expat stuff and sold it off. It's now doing very well. It's very successful. So since 2008, HR2B is just focused on human resources.
And what is the balance between Vietnamese and foreigners in terms of finding new appointments?
Right, so in the earlier days, we were probably placing 20 or 30 foreigners a year, considering looking at the top level. These days, we place far less foreigners, but far more Vietnamese.
Yeah.
So we're placing about 200 or 300 Vietnamese a year, but with just 5 or 6 foreigners. And that's really driven by the demand from our customers. They're looking for Vietnamese professionals that are capable of replacing expats, and that's what we're able to provide.
And are the Vietnamese people, bless them, becoming more useful at senior management levels?
Right, yeah, that's absolutely happening. The market is continuing to change. Every year people got 1 more year of experience.
Right.
And I think more importantly, the depth of the talent is improving. What's happening is there's a younger generation of top leadership that is just taking over the reins of Vietnamese organisations. Typically, these people have some overseas education, overseas exposure, and they're really trying to work out what's going to work in terms of their business in Vietnam, in 2015.
That's an interesting point, because I've always had the impression that people who have been born here, gone overseas perhaps with the family, or gone overseas to get education, have come back and possibly started their own business, as opposed to the indigenous Vietnamese who have just grown up into industry. I think what you're suggesting is that is not necessarily the case, that quite a lot of the people you place are overseas experienced and educated.
Yes, and a lot of them, there's many reasons why they're looking for opportunities in Vietnam. And a lot of it is about lifestyle. They want to come back to be in Vietnam. But oftentimes, they may already have a family member who's running the business and wanting them to take over.
Right.
So there's lots of different scenarios that are playing out.
And how is that affected by gender, if at all?
Thankfully, Vietnam history, women have had more of an equal footing than in other countries. But still, it's not as equal as we would like.
Any particular industry where it's lagging, or any particular market
the usual culprits being the IT sector, with probably less women, that would prefer to see there's more of a gender balance. But in terms of leadership, we do see that Vietnamese women are at the very top of some of the largest organisations here.
Yeah, certainly as I go around with businesses and go into offices, I tend to see more women than men.
Right.
I'm not too certain at director or business owner level, but certainly, generally speaking, the upcoming generation is very much biased towards women, it seems.
Yeah, okay. When you're going to an office, typically they're going to be knowledge worker, and for sure you're going to be seeing more women there. They tend to work better in those types of environments. Right. There is still the glass ceiling difficulty. Oftentimes women must take some time out and raise a family and have family responsibilities. We're still dealing with a pretty conservative society. So a lot of people who are up and coming, trending, top performers, but then they've got this break. And so sometimes it's hard for them to get back in and get the opportunities that they need to get.
And do you find that the local population is real happy to work with another Vietnamese company, or do you think they tend to want to work with international companies?
Right. So in the past, if you were a top performing Vietnamese manager professional, really you'd only look at foreign companies. And the reason for that is that the alternative was not very attractive. What we've seen in the last 5 years is a change in that. Vietnamese companies are getting more professionally managed, which is what people want. And good performers are seeing that, well, actually, I can enhance my CV, get a good career experience by working in these organisations. Typically, working with foreign companies, it's quite organised and it's fine. There's all the different systems in place and quite well resourced. But oftentimes, the level of responsibility that a person is given is not that great, or the job's cut up to be quite small. Whereas with Vietnamese organisations, younger people, have got the energy, are given quite a lot of responsibility quickly. Right. So that can be an attractor.
Yes.
So that's on the supply side. On the demand side from candidates, in the past, we work with Vietnamese companies and foreign companies. In the past, candidates wouldn't want to hear about Vietnamese companies. They just no. But getting over that initial no, showing them success stories of people that have worked with those organisations and how it's worked, and also being realistic about what they're going to face in their working life, and helping them deal with that means that there's a pool of talent available to well-run Vietnamese organisations that probably wouldn't be available to them if they just tried to get it themselves.
Right. So, do you think the educational process is helping that, or do you think the educational process does not help that? Right.
So in every country, people in business complain about education system. In Vietnam, there's some fundamentally good reasons why that should be so. But what I see is that the people running education and also business are realising that this is not benefiting anybody, and there's more push towards some sort of integration and some sort of feedback. And the other thing, we're getting foreign education organisations like RMIT opening up and showing that, okay, this is one way that it can be done. So education is still a difficult area, and yeah, it still can always be better, right? But you know, what we see longer term is that it's going to be working out okay. It's just unfortunately that it's taken so long to happen. Unfortunate for Vietnam that it's taken so long.
Yes, it tends to be a common comment
Right.
about education. In terms of you developing your business all by yourself, were there any major pitfalls, any major difficulties that you had to overcome that you can pass on to the audience and say, hey, watch out for this?
Right. Well, I mean, you know, Vietnam is not an easy place to do business, and the biggest hurdle is to get good information, and in particular to get good market information. And we've come to the realization that, well, it's actually pretty nearly impossible to get good market information. Sorry to all my research colleagues out there. But what we've done is taken the trial and error approach. So we will try a new service or a new business line for a period of time, and then be quite strict on ourselves and saying, is it showing signs of development or not? And if it's not, then we'll cut it off. I think if we were to count up the number of business initiatives that we started, you know, probably about 8 or 9 different businesses. It's our search, our staffing, and our payroll that are stuck.
Right.
And we've got some other business lines that we've got in cultivation. So I think.
Will you share what that might be?
not at this time. So wait till it actually emerges, because with things like this, if you talk about them too soon, it can often kill them off.
Right.
Before they get a chance to grow.
Okay. And how do you find? You're basically a local grown, although you're obviously a foreigner.
Right.
You're a local grown business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you find that compares with some of the international players in your market?
Right. So we were quite concerned a few years ago. The government changed the law to allow foreign competitors into the Vietnamese market in our industry, and we were thinking that we would lose all our good staff and we'd lose all our good customers. That hasn't happened. Right. And in fact, if anything, we've continued to grow, but we haven't seen those foreigners come in and be really a threat. Right. And I think, it's got to do with, at the very basic level, what we've been able to do for our professionals, and the environment that we give them, the opportunities we give them. Our professional services, so our business hinges on them.
Yes, quite often in an international environment, you've got a situation where if a major international client opens its offices here, it will use, in your case, the recruitment account that it uses in other countries, as opposed to saying we must work local. Right.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we work with the regional offices of a lot of the multinational companies to let them know that we're here and what we can offer. And I think particularly in a modern working environment, it is less so much of that. You got to be on the inside. It's more about what you can deliver, for a particular project, a particular assignment.
Yeah. What advice would you give new applicants, people coming out of RMIT, for example, joining the marketplace and looking for a job? What key attributes, apart from I've been to RMIT, are you looking for?
Yeah, and I think the thing, there's a couple of pools of people that we work with. We do some work with the recent graduates, and for them, the real advice is just to go and get some experience somewhere. Right? And it doesn't really matter what, but as long as you're getting something, you're getting some sort of achievements, because that's going to give you some experience to put on your CV, but also you're going to get some feedback and going to know for yourself, is that what you want to do or not. So really for a young grad, it's just to get out and try something. Probably don't go and do your MBA immediately, just try and work somewhere.
Why do they go out for an MBA immediately?
You
talk to these young people,
yes.
and they seem to come out of university, and then the next thing they want to do is get an MBA.
Right. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, about where people are getting their career advice from, and also about, we're in a Confucian society where study is seen as a good thing in itself, and there's some sort of inflation about the number of qualifications that you're going to need to get a job. So for younger people, I say come do some work. For the mid-career professionals, which is where we do most of our placement work, It's a matter of really...
Which is the 30 to 40-year-olds you're talking
right.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got 3 to 5 years experience, they've got a degree. And the most important thing we're looking for is that they've got some sort of career direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that they know a little bit what they're trying to do with their career. And, you know, we've got some resources to help with that, but most of it's just got to come from within a person.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're looking for from those people is that they are interested in what they're doing, that they're interested in the business that they're in, that they show some understanding of the world, you know, outside of their particular office or their particular thing that they're doing. Because increasingly that's what our customers are looking for, are people that can contribute in lots of different ways, not just in a particular function or a particular job role that they happen to be in.
Right.
And I think that's the way business is going, is that it's becoming back to more of a craft.
Yeah.
And that as a business person, you're expected to understand a lot about many, many things and be very excellent about doing one or two things.
Just going back to the MBA question, what would your advice be to, what's the best age to go and do an MBA?
Well, I wouldn't say it's age dependent,
Right.
but what I would say is that, you know, really you want to have 3 or 5 years experience before you start on one. And a lot of times, you know, the difficulty these days is when you say MBA, they all come in 365 flavours. When I talk about MBA, I'm talking about a 2 or 3 year full-time program of work at a university.
Right.
You know, not a 6-week course somewhere. And really, to get the most out of that, and to understand about the science of management, you need to have some experiences that you can draw on. Go back to. So you can certainly do it straight from university, but you're probably going to get less out of it than you would. Yeah. But with advice, I don't like to give advice too much. It doesn't really work out. I guess we talk about the graduates, we talk about the mid-career professionals. The third group that we work with, and increasingly so, is at the very senior level. Right. And these are either people who are general directors at the moment, or who are seeking to be general director. And with that particular group, the thing that works best with us is where we can really spend time working with them and find out warts and all where they're trying to go and what they're trying to be. And that level of honesty only comes over a period of several meetings or so, and requires a good deal of trust. Luckily, we've got people that are capable of setting up that situation and making that happen. And so we can help people transition. For some, it's transitioning away from the general director role into board level. What does that mean? What do they have to do? How are they going to work that? For other people, it's saying, well, maybe I'm the head of sales and marketing now, and I've got my eye on a JD role. What do I need to be doing? So we can help a little bit with that.
Right. In terms of your advice, which you don't like to give, to anybody sort of starting out or up to about 30 years old, if they've still got a chance to adjust their career path, what do you think the biggest what sectors do you think the biggest opportunities are in the next 4, 5, maybe 10 years?
Yeah, well, maybe in the next 3 to 5 years. In Vietnam, what we see as the big areas of expansion are to do with manufacturing, particularly with high-tech manufacturing, electronics, or anything related to that. Service sector is also going to be expanding, so banking and accounting and different services. IT, developing, particularly in the area of software development, and being able to manage that process and have that run smoothly. So finance, IT, and manufacturing, that'd be the ones that I would stick to talk to people about.
And given that you never know that somebody from the government might be watching this program, what advice would you like to pass on to them in terms of trying to help the job market, trying to help the skill sets, and trying to sort of build a sustainable set of progress?
Well, there's no one thing called the government. There's different parts to it. I think in Vietnam, in general, with the employee relations, the big difficulty is the amount of regulation that's there and the seeming inconsistency of it, the way that it's applied. So, for the future, it'd be nice to see that is simplified and and left a little bit more to market forces than it is right now. On the education side, we can see good signs that things are happening, but we've just got to wait for the output on that one, particularly with vocational skills training and the way that's being organised with apprenticeships on the German model. We think that's a very positive thing for people into the future. And with universities, getting them more international quality and having it less run by administrators and more run by academics, I think would be just a general thing we'd like to see, because we see that that would be a better model for that to work. And then, in terms of our own industry, is really just saying, look, what we're trying to do is not that much of a threat. Oftentimes we go to some of these meetings and we feel like people are threatened by what we're trying to do. But with the service industry, yes, we've got to have some sort of regulation in there, but too much is just not going to work out.
Yes, because one of the things that Vietnam has is reputation for bureaucracy. Has that reduced over the last 10 years that you've been, 10 plus years you've been working?
Yeah, there's a reputation there. It has come down. Is it still crazy? Yes, it is still crazy. But I mean, other countries tackle with this as well, and there's definitely places that are worse than Vietnam. So, countries that go unnamed. So, yeah, it's something that's a work in progress. So it's never going to be completely finished.
No.
But yeah, hopefully it's going to get better.
Towards the end of this year, the rumour has it that the TPP will finally be signed.
Yes.
Do you think that'll have a big impact?
I think more importantly is the bilateral relationships with the EU. Already the ones with the US are doing very well. We can see if we can replicate that with the EU. I think that's going to be more of an impact than the TPP. But yeah, we'll see.
That's interesting because TPP is the one that's always in the news.
Right. Well, I've a lot of talking, but from where I sit, I see that it's going to be very difficult to actually happen. Because I think some of the bilateral stuff will happen, more likely to happen.
Well, I suppose two people talking is much better than a committee talking. And there's 12 people in the TPP, so, and potentially 24. So.
Potentially,
yeah. 5 years' time.
Yes.
What are you going to be doing in 5 years' time? What would you like to be doing in 5 years'
What would I like to be doing in 5 years' time? Well,
apart from sitting on a beach somewhere that's...
I do often sit on the beach. I enjoy the beach very much. I guess in 5 years' time, what's going to be happening for my industry is that there's going to be some specialisation. At the moment, if you look at the top players, they're all doing a number of different things. So I'd probably see that it's going to be splitting up, and that we're going to have various specialised organisations, focusing on various things. I guess for myself, it would be continue to take HR2B up to the #1 position, and hopefully we're going to get there within the 5 years. That's our plan.
Where would you position yourself at the moment?
Right now, hard to tell, but we'll probably say around, second or third.
Okay.
So depending on the
Oh,
day
so
of
it's
the
definitely reachable.
week. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll get there. Okay. And I think for our companies, continuing to expand what we're doing better what we're doing. We're increasing the range of services that we're offering to our customers. We're increasing our geographic footprint, with office in Ho Chi Minh and Da Nang and Hanoi. So we'll be
outside Vietnam?
No, we just want to focus here. Yeah.
And you personally?
And me personally, I'll still be the leadership role there. Not getting rid of me that easy.
Good. Nice to hear that. Thank you very much indeed, Tom.
Right.
Well, that was our interview with Tom, who's, as I said, is the founder and general director of HR2B here in Vietnam. And it was a pleasure to talk to you today, Tom. And thank you for watching, and I do hope you tune in for our next episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.